I think it's essential to have a free speech and to be able to communicate. Yeah, just communicate freely if there are multiple opinions, but and just make sure that we're not sort of driving a narrative. In order for
people to have trust in Twitter, I think it's extremely important that there be transparency. I think Twitter, in terms of like serious issues, is doing a lot better and more people about serious issues. How many times have the media gotten it right? Well, I would say almost never. Not never, but almost never.
Can we talk briefly about your political views?
Well, my political views, I think, are moderate. I'm in favor of moderate politics. But allowing people who have relatively extreme views to express those views within the bounds of the law. It's free speech within the context of the law. So I'm not suggesting that we just flout the law, because we'll get shut down in that case. And I think there's also there's freedom of speech and freedom of reach. So I think people should be allowed to say, pretty outrageous things that are within the bounds of the law, but then they don't, it doesn't get amplified. It doesn't get, a ton of reach. I think an important goal for Twitter would be to try to include as much of the country, as much of the world as possible. So the things that I said about Twitter, I think need to happen in order for it to be, to really go to the next level. I mean, I think the potential is there for Twitter to have, be accessible to an order of magnitude more people. Let's say the far left 10% and far right 10% will equally upset on Twitter, then that will probably be a good outcome. The standard is much more than not offending people. The standard should be that they're very entertained and informed.
Juneteenth celebrated in Texas. It was only a kiss. How did it end up like this? Contrabando y Traición, and so much for freedom of speech, Elon. It is Monday, 7:04 a.m., June 20th. My name is Frankie Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. Now, I come before you feeling a little bit disappointed. On Saturday, we did have some unexpected rain that was not forecasted. We did see several scattered showers throughout the city of Brownsville, which during this time is always appreciated. Of course, since we do have this hot, usually around this time, triple-digit weather. But nonetheless, we did get some rain on Saturday, which was much needed. Slight rain, but right now in the city of Brownsville, it is 93 degrees. Sapajur Island, Cabrera Boys, 84. Harlingen, 95. Zapata is in the triple digits. Hot and dry conditions, they will continue throughout the Rio Grande Valley for the week. We should have some sort of rain tomorrow. It is only 20-30%, but we're hoping we do. We should have some haze, possibly thunder on Tuesday, but haze will return midweek, and temperatures will drift slightly higher later throughout the week. So again, perfect time for the weather. Yesterday, the United States celebrated Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a day that is celebrated after the Civil War. As we could all remember, slaves back in the day were granted their freedom through the Emancipation Proclamation through President Abraham Lincoln. But we obviously live in a different world where now technology and communication are just a click of a button. Well, after the emancipation, after the Civil War was concluded, slaves living in Texas and Galveston still were living under the authority of a family. It took 2 years until 1865 for news to get back to Texas, back to Galveston, and let the slaves know that they were free. And it is important for us to recognize this holiday, because this is the day that African Americans in the state of Texas were finally granted their freedom. Now, some individuals say there was communication, even though back in the 1860s, obviously technology was nowhere near what we have today, but there was lines of communication. And even though it did take a while for the news to travel, it shouldn't have been 2 years. And again, Galveston will be the place where the Union Army arrived and proclaimed the slaves that they were free. They were no longer held captive after this announcement, which was symbolic and important for the African American history. But again, do we still live in a country that is racist? We have seen videos and heard stories of individuals in the lower southeastern part of the United States, Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Arkansas. They are heavily predominantly white for the most part, and we still hear and see videos or ideas or ideology of racism. Elon Musk did state that Juneteenth is important and it's considered by his companies a U.S. holiday, but it comes with a caveat. You do have to require paid time off, which is true of many other holidays. Every employer has their policies and procedures, of course, but it's just interesting to note that even though this is considered a day for African American freedom, SpaceX still makes you take your PTO. Now, it was only a kiss. How did it end up like this? This past weekend, a lot of buzz was made from the Buzz Lightyear premiere. Many parents have been up in arms and frustrated with Disney as of late. Well, this highly anticipated movie was received with a lot of questions throughout the reviews. Now, who can forget? Buzz Lightyear is what made Toy Story, along with Woody. And even though the movies after weren't as impactful as part one, whenever they announced that they were going to branch out and tell us the story of Buzz Lightyear, it got us all excited because at the end of the day, back in 1995, Andy, the child, was watching a Buzz Lightyear movie, and that is how a movie or a show, and that is how he got interested and he wanted to go by Buzz Lightyear. Well, now that movie was what premiered this past week. Well, countries in Saudi Arabia, they did ban this movie because it did show two females kissing. And many parents have stated, we should separate sexuality whenever we're introducing them to kids. Some have stated, hey, let them get to an age where if they decide that they are one way or the other, that is up to them. But being young children, they should not be exposed to that. They should live life. And this is the scene in question. That two females did share a kiss, but one goes to question. Well, and we can all agree, Disney has had its share of controversy. They always portray different symbolisms or leads us to interpret a certain way, which could be seen as either sexual or mature in nature. And many have argued and stated, hey, well, this is Disney's way of transmitting through the tube, this information to convince either young children their certain, ideologies and beliefs, some have stated. And some families have been upset. And, there was a text that said, a review that said, that they don't mind spending money for their families, but to explain to children why two women are kissing, it kind of defeats the purpose of going to the movies. Why? Because you're going to see something, and it leads us into maybe topics of discussion that we're not ready for as parents, as we all should be ready for when that time comes. But is it the role of movies to send us a message, to make an argument for, to pass their political agendas, their ideologies, or is it should we separate, sexuality? Should we separate um, some things that we will be interpreted as a little bit mature in nature away from Disney movies? Um, Again, many have argued and stated, "Hey, well, look, what's good for one is good for the other." If individuals are complaining that Buzz Lightyear is having a scene with two females kissing in a Disney movie, well, let's go back, and let's talk about what's right and what's wrong. You know, this kiss, she was asleep, she was unconscious. Is it okay for anybody just to go up to a woman who's asleep and kiss her without her consent? Again, it raises a lot of questions. But again, it goes back to the argument. Are we in a society today where we no longer have that freedom or that luxury of letting kids be kids and waiting for them to reach an age where possibly they could prefer one pronoun over the other? It's gotten a little bit out of hand nowadays, but we can all agree that Disney does have a role in this. And who can forget the movies that they have come out with? The shows that have portrayed same sex, animals with owners. I may be pushing it a little bit, but nonetheless, they have done their fair share of pushing the envelope. Disney, back in the mid 90s, they did produce a film called Blank Check. And if we can remember this movie, this is about a kid who came across a check and he, cashed in for millions of dollars. And, he did what any kid would do, buy games, toys, things of all that nature, that fun stuff. He ended up kissing a woman, a 30-some-year-old. Nobody questioned and said, hey, that's wrong. But we go to Buzz Lightyear and we see two women kissing and we're up in arms. Now, again, should we let kids be kids and wait for them to get to an age to where they should decide? Or should, how Disney has been doing as of late, should they throw little subliminal messages, maybe to say, hey, it's okay. This is okay in society. And if you feel that way, it's normal. Many parents have argued and stated that no, it's not the place or the time for that. But how do you feel as a parent? Are you okay with a strong corporation such as Disney trying to implement and possibly encourage young children into finding this totally acceptable? Or is this the role of the parents? Contrabando y Traición. Yesterday, the city of Matamoros, Tamaulipas, was a day that they would like to forget, even though that these type of events have become a common occurrence in our backyard. It is sad to report that there was narco-terrorism, there was blockades, civilians were forced from going to church, from maintaining their daily activity. There was a lot of turmoil yesterday in the city of Matamoros. We saw buses, tires, ponchallantas being placed throughout the exits of Matamoros and also at all the major intersections. It is said that, and again, this is a common occurrence, unfortunately, but we have seen how Mexico for the longest time has had some sort of peace. And who can forget? Who can forget how the Pax Romana, how it is said that for over 200 years, there was peace and prosperity in the country. Well, now the Mexican government has has been accused of favoring cartels, one cartel over the other throughout different administrations. And it has been said that the reason why they do this is because so they can maintain of some sort of peace in their region, throughout their countries. Now, if they allow for one organization to run things, as long as they run things smoothly without any major terror attacks such as these, without any large casualties of murders, robberies, thefts, if the city is being held ransom, that is when the government steps in. But for the longest part, and for the longest time, Matamoros has been, with the exception of back in 2010 when there was that rupture between the cartel, but for the most part, Mexico has been somewhat peaceful. Progreso is another city that many tourists go to. Why? Because we feel comfortable throughout the day, and making sure that that we feel safe, because at the end of the day, Mexico relies on tourism, whether that's Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico City. It depends largely on tourism. Now, for the longest time, Matamoros has had this some sort of Pax Romana in place, where let's keep it clean. Y'all do your work, as long as the city is aunque la ciudad esté tranquila. No queremos secuestros, no queremos robo, no queremos. We don't want kidnappings. We don't want robberies. We don't want killings. Let's maintain some sort of peace. And for the longest part, Mexico has had this. And again, Mexico is lawless, but we see nonetheless how money makes the world go round. And every administration that comes to power always has their people that they want to set up. It is alleged that Felipe Calderón's administration did favor the Sinaloa cartel, which saw the rise of El Chapo Guzman, Mayo Zambada, and all that facet of Mexico rise to extreme strength and power. Here locally, again, different elections have consequences, whether that's here in the city of Brownsville or also in our backyard in Matamoros. We recently had a governor, a changing governor, Americo Villarreal. He did win the governorship for Tamaulipas, and he is part of the Morena party. And the Morena party is the party that currently holds the presidency. Now, again, every election has its consequences. This operation that was taken part of, they were going after a certain family that has controlled Matamoros for a long time. Ociel Cárdenas was captured back in 2010 in Matamoros, and he was arrested. Throughout time, we have seen since 2010 till now, the Cárdenas family has been able to maintain their stronghold within the city. The nephew of Ociel, he has managed to elude authorities not once but twice. It wasn't the third time where they caught him in Mexico City that they finally have him in federal custody. But nonetheless, different administrations, different elections, they have consequences. We have seen how, again, different presidents, different administrations, generals, they prefer one cartel. Why? Because they make a treaty with them. Pax Romana. Hey, prosperity and peace is what I want. Can you bring this to me? Yes. Okay, show me. Make sure that the clubs, there's no trouble. Make sure that the streets are cleaned. We don't want people going and robbing and stealing and being a threat. If you can promise me that, you're good in business. Set up shop. But once I start hearing of things going off in clubs, once people start being robbed, that's when the government steps in. Why? Because we don't want that. That's too much attention. Again, Mexico highly depends on tourism. Well, yesterday we saw the change of guard. Now we see how the Morena party, who has been very vocal against criminal organization, is this the change of tide where a new government is coming into power and they're removing They're removing a family that has dominated the region for 20 plus years. Now, could possibly they be putting their own people in line? Again, elections have consequences, but the city of Mexico did see narco blockades because they were going after a family. Now, even though that this individual that was captured, even though he is a bodyguard for the children of the uncle, many in town are now questioning and saying, new government, new plaza boss. Why? Because they want to be able to control what happens in Matamoros. They want to have a seat at the table and dictate to the criminal organizations, the business people, the commerce in that city, and say, hey, new king in town, this is the way things are going to be worked out. But the city of Mexico did find itself yesterday in terror. Hopefully we do find an administration that is going to work diligently with this criminal organization and to try and prevent anything of being a common occurrence. Now, the reason why I say work with is because, again, history has taught us in Mexico how the governments, they work with the cartels and say, hey, look, cut your crap. I don't want bad publicity. I want a clean and prosperous city, region. Are you going to make this happen or not? Because once you start messing up, that's when we go up against you. Are we seeing this in Matamoros? Are we seeing where they're trying to get rid of the old guard as much as possible so they can start implementing their people? That is something that only time will tell. So much for free speech, Elon. Elon Musk did finally eat his words, it seems. Freedom of speech has been something that Elon Musk has been talking about throughout his time where he has been in the process of purchasing Twitter. He did make a bid of close to over $40 billion for one of the largest social media platforms that we have out there. And one of his main arguments have been, I feel as if Twitter is not allowing its users to use their constitutional right, their human right of free speech, being able to say whatever you'd like and not have any sort of repercussions. As we can all remember, President Trump has been a high-profile individual. Alex Jones, the conspiracy theorist, has been another who has seen their platforms been shut down by Twitter. And you can make your argument for one or the other for the reasons why they should have. But nonetheless, free speech. We feel, or in a perfect world, we would want to think of it as being able to say whatever I want, how I feel, but at the end of the day, it won't have no repercussions. Why? Because in this country, we value free speech. Well, if you believe in that wholeheartedly, I got some oceanfront property in Arizona that I got for you at a very, very good price. Tesla, Elon Musk, who has been very vocal saying free speech, kind of ate his words. There were some employees who have filed a complaint, them being employees, being also shareholders. They have been critical of Elon Musk. And Elon Musk, as of late, he's been very eccentric. He's been an individual who has loved the limelight. And all we could hear is how he's going to be saving humanity, how it is he who we should rely on, and it is he that is going to bring us into making space exploration a possibility. Now, it is impressive to see how the likes of Elon Musk, who is now the world's richest man, has been able to acquire such a backing. And again, this man is compared to the likes of Leonardo da Vinci, Isaac Newton, Benjamin Franklin, individuals that were ahead of their times. Somebody that you look back in history and said, wow, this person had an amazing effect on the human race, not for his area, not for a couple of years, but throughout the length of time. That is the same phrases or lines that is used for the likes of Elon Musk. But is it fair Is it fair that he, got rid of his employees? What do we think about an individual who says, "Hey, it's okay, freedom of speech. That is what I'm trying to protect here." And then his employer say, "Hey, man, should we write this? Hey, why not? Nothing's going to happen to us." He did say that freedom of speech was all right. Well, he did fire 5 employees who started circulating a letter around the company that were very critical of Elon Musk. The letter was circulated and signed by an unknown number of SpaceX employees early this week. And of course, Elon Musk does control 78% of SpaceX voting shares since last year. And we have seen their value. Their value drop significantly. They were on a trajectory that was very, very promising. Again, electronic cars is a thing of the future, of course. And as of late, it is going up against the likes of well-established the automobile industry, such as GMC, Ford. And we have seen how a large production has been brought up from Tesla, and they are actually competing, maybe not on a large projection, but they're competing in throughout the different quarters, and they're being competitive and successful. But again, Elon Musk, we can all agree he's very eccentric, and he always provides us with some sort of entertainment. Now, is his acquisition of Twitter really for free speech? Is he one to say, "You know what? I am for humanity. Whatever you want to say it. As long as you're not threatening nobody, as long as you are not, trying to start a revolution, say what you want. Even if you want to start a revolution, say what you want, because at the end of the day, we value here in the United States and just being a human right, free speech. Not so much. But again, who are we to disagree with the world's richest man? Now, is Elon Musk an embarrassment for us? Because here we have a person, and I'm going to say this. One time, my mom asked me, "Hey, did you do something?" I was 10 years old, and my mom says, "Hey, I heard you did this. Is this true?" I was like, "No, Mom, I didn't do it." She's like, "Look, I'm not going to hit you. I just want to know if you did it. We'll work on it." I was like, "You're not going to hit me?" She's like, "No." I was like, "Okay, Mom, I did it." She beat the crap out of me. That's the same thing with Elon Musk. Free speech. Free speech is our God-given right. We should say what we wish, as long as you're not threatening to an individual. What happened to his employees? Hey, should we make this public? Hell yeah, why not? Elon Musk said that free speech is essential to society, that we should be able to complain about things. Now, should this be a warning to Starbase employees? Again, Tesla and Starbase, there are 2 different companies that he is running. It seems like it's simultaneously at the same time. So we can just imagine his work schedule and his travel, how hectic it must be. But nonetheless, is Elon Musk, does he care about our free speech? Us as Twitter users? The letter did state how his antics were affecting Tesla stock, how because of what he was publishing and posting, that many individuals have suffered economically, and that we should put a muzzle, so to speak, on his rhetoric, because it is affecting our livelihood. And they also have been calling him embarrassing, and this could not support Elon's cause, if he is firing individuals for being vocal and being critical of his position. Now, I understand, when you do run your own company, you could run it as you'd like. And, what boss would want to hear, hey, boss, we don't feel that you're doing a great job, and we disagree with you because X, Y, Z. But at the same time, if an individual states that, you have the freedom to say what you wish, but is it a catch-22? Because, yeah, you have the freedom to say what you do, but your words do have consequences. And again, who am I to tell a business owner how to run his company? He runs it however he likes. If he doesn't have any trust for an individual, get rid of him. Maybe that was the case. But should Starbase employees be cautious, to be vocal, to be critical of some sort of production or critical of the man himself? Is this a case where SpaceX now is a authoritarian run business where, well, what does Elon have to say? How does Elon feel? Does Elon listen to a large group of people? I would imagine he does. Ultimately, I'm sure he has a large percentage of say, but he does rely on other specialists, technicians, engineers, environmental specialists, individuals who are trained in different capacities to make this operation work. But it is interesting to note that Elon Musk, he does claim that, free speech is okay, but is this another sign of him being a bully, of him using his position and getting rid of individuals who he does not like? Again, a business owner could do as he wish. And again, who is going to tell the world's richest man that freedom of speech should be used in every sense of the word? But as we all know, in society today, our words have consequences. We can let our boss know how we feel about them, but we best believe that the boss will take notice and possibly get rid of us. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's all about trust. It's all about working relationships. And if you have an individual that is going against you, why would you want that individual on your ship if they are trying to sink your beautiful cargo? And that, my friends, is the rest of the story. Juneteenth, it is celebrated. It is sad to say that after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed and freed all African Americans, it took 2 years for the slaves in Galveston, Texas, to be freed. June 19th, is a day that is celebrated where the Union Army showed up to Galveston Beach and freed all the slaves 2 years after being free. Contrabando y Traición. Yesterday, the city of Matamoros did find itself in turmoil early in the morning. There was a family's bodyguard that was picked up. Many have stated that, hey, this is just the transfer of power. New administration is coming in. They're taking out the old family that has been in reign for over 20 plus years. And now they're trying to put their individuals, their people, because they want a Pax Mafiosa Romana, where it promises peace, tranquility, and prosperousness in the city. They want everything to be run smoothly. Y'all can do your thing as long as no robberies, no thefts, no murders, no kidnappings, and everything is peaceful. We're good. And so much for free speech, Elon Musk. Elon Musk did fire 5 Tesla employees after they were critical of his antics and because they saw the stock price of Tesla drop dramatically. Is it fair for individuals to be fired because of them being critical of their employer? We would hope not. But at the end of the day, in our society today, our words do have consequences. And if we're critical of our boss, best believe that our boss will get rid of us any chance they get. Thank you for your time and your attention. It is Monday, 7:35 a.m. This is Good Morning Brownsville. Hope to see you all here on Wednesday. God bless.